Let's start the meeting, go ahead, sign our cell phones and speak to the please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation.
All right, we got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Call the personnel committee to order at 6:01. I have myself here, Dojohn's absent, Fields here, Everett's here, and Ryan here. So thank you, city workers, for showing up today. We have a lot to talk about. I can hear your input. Okay, starting off. Let's go to the first one, medical, dental, vision, and life expenses. All right, so the first page shows how much we're paying here for all the employees, employee spouses, employees and children, and family. Employee only is 5264. Employee and spouse 10,893.48. You guys can read it along. Some of the fringe benefits we get with this, we have sick leave payout each year for 40 hours. Is that something we want to continue with, or we want to continue with that?
I don't see a need to change it.
And then we got longevity pay for those employed. And retired enough that your was hired after 97.
Can I ask you a question about the sick leave?
Yes,
So at Rice Line when we're at work, they just had to eliminate sick leave and had to make it personal time.
PTO time.
Yeah, is that, and do we have to follow that, Paul?
Heard of anything requiring that change.
Okay.
Why you say that, why they said that they're gonna require the change.
It might have been in the Missouri side too, so I know it just happened this past year.
They're like employee owned.
Yeah.
That might have something to do with it.
Okay.
I don't know of any requirements.
Okay.
In the state level, we're still sick days, sick days, count on vacation.
You do.
All right, so medical, health insurance, dental, vision. Next page, we look at your fringe benefits compared to other municipalities. We talked about in the salary survey, however, those paying 100% health insurance, dental family, vision family. Breakdown, you get 13 sick days a year equals out to 3 personal days or on-call pay. Some things we need to talk about. I know we just had a couple of retirements. One of them was the retirement point. With the price of gold and everything else, it's kind of, it's a good gesture, but it's not equaling out to about 7 to 9. Do we want to continue to do this, or do we have any idea of something else we can do? Because it's pretty tiny.
What if we could change the dollar?
What's that?
I mean, right now, we're currently at
It's $50 a year.
a year,
Yeah.
$50 per year.
There you go. I can't.
Currently, they get $50 a year for each year, so.
Yeah, so it used to be that we started out with the African coin many years ago. We went to the old American coin, and then we changed the policy to the dollar amount per year of service. And it used to be that we bought the coin regardless of price, but then as the price started to creep up, it almost got affordable.
I guess,
And then we put the dollar amount on it, but now you can't hardly get anything for the dollar amount when the price of gold is.
guess what I'm looking at is, when we put the $50 in there, I don't know how many years ago. But it's been quite some time, I'm quite certain. And I guess when you first started buying these for the guys, how many ounces of gold did you buy?
I bought a 1 ounce gold coin. I remember.
And now you can buy what?
And now I think, what did we buy, Josh? What did I buy? Because I was restricted by the devil.
110 something.
So now we're getting a
There's
third,
3 of them.
getting a third of what we were originally buying. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess my point being, you know, obviously. I mean, they're still getting the same dollar value.
It's just that when the price
If
of
they
gold
have
goes
for
up,
years, but if we want to continue to gold, we probably need to have.
Yeah.
Changing the dollar amount.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
Well, why can't we just give you the cash?
you have to take taxes out of it.
Well, I
Which
think,
is not necessarily something, just so you're aware of.
I mean, my opinion, and these guys can tell us right or wrong, but I think it was always kind of a cool thing to get. Gave you something that. Some of them they cashed them in right away, some of them they kept them even their kids. You know, I don't know what they all did with them, but
It was a nice gold
It's-
coin.
yeah, it's not like, here you go, thank you. You know, it was. A gold watch or whatever kind of gesture. If you did the amount, I mean, like, you've got this $50 per year set. If you did write it as a check at the end, even though they're taking the taxes out of it. They're also getting the benefits at that point because that gets paid into all their benefits at that point too, or not.
I would
The
think
last,
it would be
the last
considered-
pay, the
Yeah,
last pay
because
period.
it's 48 months.
Yes, so that last pay period would be increased, even though it's coming out of that check. If you adjust that accordingly, they're getting the benefit of the benefits coming out of it, even though it's coming out of that amount.
The mayor may also talk about something local. Dollars spent locally. I don't remember what we all talked about. Was it-
Dollar value there, you're saying that would boost their retirement a bit? Well, their benefit, they're gonna get the benefits out of it because you're paying it in, and I do bonuses to my employees, that's the way I do. We write them an extra check or whatever for that period. And yes, the taxes and stuff come out of it, but it's going into the benefit package at the same time. Just thought.
I don't. Yeah, switch the microphone, sorry.
No, I'm speaking on my behalf, but I know from previous, we always look towards that huge medallion we got, that meant something to us. That's my
That's my
opinion, yes.
Check.
There again, you're looking at the years served. I mean, like me, 22 years, that's $1,100. You're almost at an ounce one there. So by the time you get a few more
Not
years,
really.
13 something,
Those are some loose price.
they go up.
And that's why we were only able to get 3 small coins for what we used to buy with 1 ounce gold.
That one, it was just because that person maybe had 15 years or maybe did a lot of.
Yeah,
years.
but it's big now.
20.
Do we say like a certain house amount? I mean, I know it fluctuates up and down.
So it's just at $50 per year per years of service.
Yeah.
I mean, is it something we raise? I mean, how long has that been in?
But it's been there forever.
I'm just saying, so $50 doesn't.
Well, I'm not.
Well, okay. Yeah. It's the problem.
Yeah,
is 2017.
2017.
Problem is with the gold, it fluctuates right now, it's $2,000 an ounce.
Right.
So it's as high as it's been at a long time. Or forever, so
What I'm just saying is a time to just at least raise that $50, $60, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, per year. That, you know what I'm saying?
To make it a little more valuable.
To make it more valuable. Saying $50, do you feel the same? Yeah, what I'm saying, you're honest, you're not very helpful.
You probably have to double or triple that too, and make it impact.
I'm just using the number, I'm just using the number here, what? Is it time to reevaluate that after it's been
Yeah, I think it should be reevaluated every
years?
5 years probably.
Well, I would think now.
And, you know, the other thing to look at, you know, when the $50, whatever year is put into place. You know, where their salary would have been compared to where they are now. You know, the salaries increased because never did. So, you know, in reality, it should probably. In some fashion, it should be revisited in so many years.
Should that be evaluated every year with the yearly? Saying raises, you know what I'm saying, I don't know.
What if we did a combination of the two and give the retiring employee the option of the gold, the value of the gold, or a check in the amount? Because if you look at it, anybody that's getting it right now is kind of getting screwed because the price is so high. So in the future, that coin is not gonna be worth that.
They aren't, you know, gold keeps going.
Well, yeah, but it typically doesn't like it's to a bunch of stocks.
People have a choice.
Yeah. Option. I mean, you're giving them the option to take what he wants. If Bubba says, hey, I like the fact of coin. He makes that decision, that's what we get him and go, but they also have the option to do the cash out of it, and I think you're treating everybody fair because everybody has that option at that point.
I agree with the option, but I think we should go to $100.
Well, I'm not saying we shouldn't raise it, I'm just saying you give them the option of which way they go.
I think we should double it then to at least 100.
Yeah, and then give them the option,
Okay.
and then review it at least every 5 years. For a committee, do we need to make a general?
Wanna-
Or should we bring these notes into next?
Say we'll bring it to the next. And
You
we'll
know,
think about it.
do them then, or I guess trying to decide what we're doing for tonight, we're just gonna kind of make recommendations.
Yeah.
Then we'll have them highlighted for next week,
Okay, so
Correct.
next week's committee,
next week's committee meetings,
okay,
and then we'll act on them on
okay.
that time.
Okay, knock that out then. Anything else with that? Next is years of service awards, longevity pay. I know there's a couple different options that we can do, we talked about every 5 years doing a service award, like 1, 5, 10. You know, like every 5 years going up. Questions that come along with that, do we give? Anybody interested in like longevity pay? Like say every 5 years we give, or every 5 years we give a quarter or 50 cents. For reward to our employees for the time of service here. That's an option you can come up with. Yeah, it is. Something to think about before we give another different idea for service rewards.
What do they have as a service award right now? Anything? Nothing.
Yes or no? Maybe they got to retire.
Yeah.
And you get more vacation for years, things like that, how does that? That every 5 years, 10 years,
Goes up by years of service, you get so many hours. Fair, you have that. I have to run. I have not read the personnel policy. I think.
Right section here. Less than a year is none, 1 to 2 is 40, 2 to 5 is 80, 5 to 10 is 96. It keeps climbing up and it maxes out at 20 and over. 168 hours plus 4 hours each year completed over 20 years. So there is a progression.
about that when we have the next meeting. Next, I know we spoke with department heads at the department head meeting, tuition reimbursement for jobs down here. I know we talked about in the past, say, if an employee wants to get a water certification or a sewer certification, will, should we start paying for all the small things like that? Or if they're already employed here, they're gonna try to progress it to another level, or we're gonna pay for it. To try to both retain our employees.
Well, I guess, I mean, I know we pay for training and all that kind of stuff every time anybody goes anywhere, does anything.
Yeah.
But I guess, I don't know what kind of cost is involved with, linemen or water, sewer, or anything, is what, I need help from you, but yes, what is, I understand they gotta take classes to do this, is that paid for by the city, is that something they do on their own, or what is the process?
Well, like I said, the training requests come through, so then that's obviously approved by council for somebody to go to classes. I mean, I think with the new Cassell system and what they sent Liz about stuff for training on stuff like that, so.
And same thing with the.
Same thing with like, with the Prince lineman, they would go through and that's all through the city for the.
So we really already do that.
So there's no expense to the guys. Correct. I think this is more so if you're going back to school to get bachelor's, I think maybe what you're thinking, maybe like bachelor's, whatever, to go back and get. Something outside of.
So it'd be like if I have my associates, but I want to get my bachelor's. That the city would reimburse my time spent to go back and get my bachelor's degree. That's just. For instance.
On that.
I mean, I know I've seen it in some places before where they would do, say some municipalities would pay for your schooling for, becoming a police officer. And then sometimes you have to stay with the municipality for 5 years afterwards or something like that, and that would be another option, say, we can pay for the schooling, but I can stick around for 5 years, whatever it would be. That's a possibility.
And we're life insurance with that next. You guys remember in the salary study, we were under the average, we were at $10,000 a year. And average 15. Last meeting, or meeting for that, we had a new quote for our life insurance for this next fiscal year. It looks like the competitive offer we have now, we want to stay at $10,000. Our premium will actually go down, it's locked in for 3 years. Do we want to stay with the $10,000 amount or move up to the $20,000 amount, which it would be right at close to $600 more than what we're paying right now. If we went with the competitive offer, if we went from what we're currently doing to the same thing to what we're offered right now, it looks to be about a $600 decrease a year.
I think my opinion of life insurance would be the same kind of as the retirement reward. It's probably something we need to revisit.
Yeah.
Every 5 years or something.
Yeah.
Basically, employer life insurance policies are usually intended to cover their end of life expenses. And I don't know if you could do it for $10,000 anymore.
Yeah.
Probably not, it's my guess. I guess your next jump would be 20, is that?
20,000.
No,
You got 20 and 25.
I think it should go to 20.
All right.
We'll show what the 3-year rate guarantee on too, so.
Yeah, we're locked in. We can look at it again in 3 years. Yeah. See what we want to do. But looking to 20,000 and already and then. What we're going as follows.
there is some benefits for the rest of them, but. That would bring up a question, we have a responsibility or not. If we had an employee that has spouse that wishes to purchase along with the city, would that be a possibility? I don't know if there's any monetary advantage or.
It says it will, $217 a month. The second one from the bottom. Employees are responsible for dependent coverage in each plan at $217 per month.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, apparently it's already.
I think does that mean, to me, that means that if they can buy it, there's
Right, right. I didn't read that one.
looks like there's only 17 of them.
Discussion, or that's $1,000. Anything else, fringe benefits you guys want to talk about?
So just to jump back,
Yeah.
I did look it up while we were, and Pritzker did sign a paid time off guarantee for any reason that it starts in 2024.
Really?
Yep.
That's different.
No, but he's guaranteed, he said, we guaranteed paid time off in 2024, and that's, so what there is in the sick leave then.
No, that's not.
No. Okay.
It just means that you have to give time off up to 40 hours a week.
Right. So
You can have sick leave in pots.
I understand that, so now it would be 40 hours of sick leave and 40 hours of paid time off.
We already do that,
We do.
they get vacation plus sick leave.
They approved it first year.
This is accrued paid time off, so you're including, so the way ours reads, vacation, paid time off, no sick leave, because vacation and paid time off are two different things also. So this would be, if we're gonna stay with sick time, it'd be vacation, paid time off, sick leave.
Some places have paid time off, includes sick leave and vacation. But currently, some places have separate vacation and sick leave. We do.
I don't think what he wrote or what he signed in the law is what you're saying. I think it's different.
Okay.
Well, I'm just. Yes,
It's not effective.
no, but we're going over it, then the next time we're gonna talk about it is after the 2024, so. It would make sense to talk about it now.
I'll check in time. It's not what that law is, yeah.
You do, if you signed it already.
Right now. Talking about that.
I think that was sent out to us. I think I remember reading a press release or something. All of them did.
I know it was at work.
It was in the annual. Yeah, maybe that's question. So that's.
Well, that'd be something we need to look into that. Anything else on fringe benefits? Move on. Okay, next up, we have the utility office clerk and utility billing clerk. We got job descriptions in here, we will let them do. See,
I do have a question on your job descriptions, were these already in place or are these brand new with?
No, they're pretty much in place.
yeah.
I had the same type of question. Do we have the originals that they were hired under?
They have to go back and dig for them.
That's
Yeah,
why.
that's why I asked the question, whether this is new.
It is,
We're looking
yeah.
at it.
They're already in place, they're currently,
This job description that we've got.
yes, but they're not necessarily what they were originally hired with. Because, for instance, Barb was hired 20 years, 21 years ago, 22 years ago, so hers has changed over the years of service, and I'm sure Patty's or utility clerk at the office for the utility.
It was updated with additional duties in January of 22 and brought to you guys for approval. So. It was, she was.
These are the
under
most
the-
recent. The current ones, not necessarily what they were hired.
After that, you that mark the additions in the star, is that, you didn't get it? What's the, which page then? That's $100.
That's the-
Okay.
You can see the building clerk and the building clerk, while they seem a lot of things, there's a lot of different stuff that each of them do. So a question that's come up is backup. I know right now we have, and you're correct, that you're backup for all of City Hall, you and Liz, correct?
Right, and Christine,
Christie. Question that we would have is, do we, there's Barb and Patty, that they're both the same, do we have both of those back up one another? And I know we talked about different ways we could do it. Our last meeting, we talked about creating a new job title and what we're saying. We talked about, you know, these two cross trainings with each other. We talked about coverage. They Patty, like she said, he's out right now, and we can have somebody from City Hall cover her spot in the time. That.
Right now, like I mentioned it, like with Patty being out, I'm just taking care of, and so it'll be whatever little time sheets and stuff, and that's kind of what I've been doing since I've been here, is just kind of backing Patty up, and then, but like I said, if you start going back and forth, then you're all of a sudden creating backup, since they're in a separate building, so it's, how do you?
Yeah.
And like I said, and it's the day-to-day stuff, I can, like I can enter and I can code invoices and I'll talk with Liz and Liz get in and where I can update timesheets that I've done in the past and get on the list for entry hits. So,
yeah,
there are some things that, we can keep things moving.
Okay.
As down there for us at least.
It'd be pretty difficult to have. Somebody from here back up Patty or Patty back up somebody up here as far as how things are done.
we've done it in the past, when Julie was here, she used to go to the utility management and.
What flows.
It was, I mean, for public phones and stuff like that, but when it comes to ordering and stuff, that wasn't anything that she did or anything, so. But between Jeff and I or one of the guy, we just kind of make it work what we got, so. Currently.
Okay, and when it comes to like entering, all the utility bills, I mean, Barb does it, if she's out, you and Christie do it, or you?
Well. We try to do the bare necessities, we try to have them covered. Christy right now is training as backup to Liz, because, so she knows the very basic steps covered from Barb if she has to, because, the data entry of payments, and Liz and I don't know how to do that too.
Okay.
Right now, Christy's focused on trying to capture the abilities and cover the duties of Liz in case.
So Barb's out, you and Liz can all help with that, and that's what I was just. I understand you don't back each other up, I get it, so.
The exposure.
Sure.
It's a question I've got, if there was an extended leave, and we know things happen. It happens, at what point would we like full on temporary or something, or what would we resort to in those extreme situations?
I didn't thought that that's what this was. No, I don't know, yeah.
Staying for right now. Okay, as you guys know, we talked about in prior meetings that according to the salary survey, the billing clerk and the office clerk down there were both under the minimum. You guys find your packets, here's an historical salary history from both of them for the past 20 years, almost 20 years. Historically what they're gonna pay. looks like fiscal year 2020. Barb was given a salary increase that her and Patty both were made even at that point.
I guess as far as duties go, it's pretty comparable.
Say, I'd say so.
Both dealing with customer service, and you got that, Patty does invoice entry, Barb does payroll, not payroll. Bill entry and that kind of stuff, so I mean, there's. I mean, they're different. Well, too, so, they're similar with it.
Okay. My question would be, just looking at the fiscal years laid out. And Barb does have 5 more years here than what Patty does. That was
Yeah.
my question on, as far as having them be the exact same pay. Is it? Should it be? I can't think on that.
Well, the intent of this spreadsheet was to show the difference in pay for the first 8 years.
Mhm.
So if you look at it, there's a $60,000 difference across 8 years. So Barb was made $60,000 less
Mhm.
the first 8 years that both her and Patty were here.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at was, okay, so Barb has 5 more years seniority, but then you've also got an additional how many years until she was finally. Caught up to a person that was hired 5 years after her. That's my question, I guess, should it be the same hourly wage? You know, should there be a little bit more of a catch up?
Just to give everybody a little back history, I doubt that any of these guys at the table here would realize this or remember it, but I don't know what year it happened. But the utility office clerk at one point in time was given a substantial raise. Because we had put in SCADA equipment, which monitored our electric use, is that correct, Josh? So that we were able to shave peak at that time, saved us a ton of money. So that was an extra duty that was added to that position. And that was where the difference in the salary was created originally. But then at some point in time, and I don't remember the time frame, that went away, and that's not a duty. Just so you got a little history of how, where that happened.
Well, I guess was Barb's initial job, I mean, was it similar to what she's doing now, or was it more of a?
We've added responsibility to it. When you start doing the auto debit program and you start submitting to the state for collections on unpaid utility bills. You can kind of see the additions that we made to her job description as the years have gone on.
So, question we have here again is, if they're under the minimum, what should we do move on? Because I think if we're doing this at this time, we gotta figure out some ways to move it up.
Yeah, they can give them an increase this year. Where they can then some of those. Because I think the salary survey suggested they're gonna give them a 3% increase. And we're probably gonna give them more like a 5 or 6.5%. So they're gonna be above that minimum then. So. Problem solved.
Yeah, it's not like it was substantial, you know, I mean. There's, you know, we gotta look at all those factors there too, so I mean, and I know that was part of the reason of the flat last year, because. It did give some 5 or 6, but it gave some 7 and 8 or 8. To help kind of pull these things together, so it was driving the way that we knew that, and even last year, we were powering raises, and I would believe, Robert, that's one of the ways that I would do the flat, if I'm not mistaken, that was to help bring some lower up a little higher. So,
I know in the past, there was a question too, I guess, with the police contract. Have we got clarification on that and what that's going to do to us?
So thus far, we didn't have anything to take to them to ask, we weren't sure what we were doing here.
Wait, because
Yeah.
if we do just give all employees a raise, then they automatically get that.
Please.
Yeah, if it's a flat raise, they get whatever. I think the contract actually says 2%, isn't it, John?
For the higher.
2% or the higher percent. Or whatever, the basics.
So on the previous, I've seen like 4 or 5 individuals raises that were higher than the average raise in the police. The FFP didn't say anything about it. How was that okay? And how did we get by with that? And can we use history to eliminate any concern here?
Yes.
Well, we weren't aware of it. We had been aware, we would have brought it up, now that we're aware.
Well, the other thing, Carl, too, I'm not sure which ones he's talking about, timing, it could have been before you joined up.
I think there was one last year before, like, Pam, you got one last year, right? Or something. There was there was a couple I've seen, so there's definitely people that got individual raises. Yes.
Well, that's one that I forgot, an individual raise, or was brought up.
No, not at all. Okay, I'll find it, sir. It's at the meetings.
Level, Joe, we moved him on, second additional duty.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess.
Well, they were different positions, different duties, he was not assigned a new position. There's been people that that the board, I wasn't on it, that have been given raises and it's not been brought up.
For instance, Barb Fuller, Barb was brought up to Patty's wage back in whatever year. that was.
19.
Right, so she was one individual that was given an increase aside from the annual pay increase that all employees receive.
I think what you might be thinking of, Ben, my guess would be, we changed the water operator position and the sewer operator position was 2 different dollar amounts, we made those the same.
We made those.
Okay, so that's still a raise, it doesn't matter if it's the same or not, you gave them a raise. But we're trying to do the same thing for Barb and Patty. We're making the same, we're making them, still a raise is a raise.
They are the same. Looking came on my now.
Well, you're saying if we bumped them up individually.
Yes.
You did.
I'm gonna circle back to your question too, Mike. I know you said, say we did the 5% or 6.5% inflation. Now, if I don't know we're gonna get into that rates, but wouldn't that put them in the same spot? If we're. Inflation 6.5%.
Not necessarily, go look at the other towns, but water, they gave 3% last year, 3 or 4%, so you can't look at that because. Just because we follow, or we're being using this index and given this 6 and 7%. A lot of municipalities are not, they're still only giving 3%. So you can't look at it that way. It's still they're in, this is just a recommendation. Yeah, this is not a written guide of anything. It's strictly their opinion. So, you know, we can take their opinion and throw it out, they can look at it however we want. So,
Yeah, and unless that study reflects what you do each year, it's not accurate at all.
No.
It isn't. Because it doesn't reflect how we did the cost of living increase, and a lot of the towns didn't, a lot of. Individual employers did, so that throw that back and put it out.
so there are not many companies that gave 7% last year just because of inflation. So. Well, it might be accurate. We can't say that it's not. I mean, you can't blanketly say that it's not because the survey was done after we gave our 7% cost of living. So our portion is accurate, and if Breeze didn't give their response after they did their cost of living, it could be accurate. So we can't say it's not.
It's only accurate for one little day in time. In fact, it's not accurate next week, next year, anytime.
It's more accurate than not knowing.
That whole survey was a total waste of money.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Nope. Every major company in the world is.
Like that they do.
Yes, they do.
They find a good company, knows what the hell they're doing, not wasting money like this company did. Didn't even go out to.
So you've seen these before? Because I've seen them before, and they look a lot better.
No,
Yes.
it go more definitely, don't go into that little deal. We did everything on the computer. We didn't go see anybody. They didn't bother to come down here. What they gave us was a cheap impersonation of a child.
Problem is, in utilities, it's like our department, you know, our guys do everything. You know, you go to other towns, they are more specific, so it really was very hard judgment. Because of how we operate, these guys do work in every, yes, they have a certain departments, but they also work in every one of them.
I do hear talk about people saying, you know, we could very easily call every town and get all those salaries. That's pretty much exactly what they did, correct? I mean, so anytime we would do that in-house for nothing, what everybody thinks it would cost would be nothing. I mean, it still would be only accurate for that one day in time, correct? I mean,
And it wouldn't be nothing either, still,
no, it's
paid up money,
it's still good information, I think.
I agree.
Do we have anything else for the building clerk also? About that, we'll bring that next week.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
When are we gonna make a decision? I mean, because we keep doing this every week, it just. Let's start making some decisions, because we're just kicking these cans down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, why can't we, that's why I thought we had this meeting tonight, so we can make a decision.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have stayed home, we're not gonna make a decision. Let's put some votes towards something, or let's cancel this, I mean, that's not, we're not making any decision.
Come down here with pay increases, then we'll make some decisions.
Well, that's just what we talked about.
The general wage is coming up here, so we'll be dealing with that. Moving on, we got detective. So police officer, detective salary data, we talked with the WHR, because they had, detective, really no change. But they categories them as the same as the sergeant. And two different job titles, but nothing changed on the general description. Let's see, we have a detective job description here. What they all do. Have the special duty pay. The canine pay, so these are the first that the police department gets taking on extra stuff. And the appendix A is pretty much what we said earlier, it's 2% of what it's hired for wages.
How often are these numbers revisited? Do you know about the additional for K9 or anything like that? You have any idea?
Let's say when they push the contract, like be next
Each time,
next year, right?
is it yearly, every couple of years, is it every year?
The next one's 2024, it's every 3 to 4 years, every 3 to 4 years.
We should be in negotiations this time next year.
Okay, and that's when they revisit that kind of stuff. Yeah.
All right, well, any questions there? All right, moving on, street utility position pay rates, as we can see here. We have the historical pay for the street utilities, you got to look over it. So they need to pay in the future, I know 2022, we did flat. Shows where we're at. Different things we can talk about. Some of these have step increases. Should we have more step increases for hiring in? Because I know that the questions came up, say, so-and-so retires at $29 an hour, the new person hires right in at $29 an hour. Should they lower and then work their way up to what the guy just retired? Or should we start automatically?
Well, I said, if you recall from when we moved Daniel, when we hired Daniel, he was. Like set up the step increases, thing with Chad, we set up when we moved into the water. I think that can also go into, if you want to consider longevity. That. The labor, for example, the labor that's been here 6 years. Get a little bump after five years, just do that separation. But then maybe as they move into another position, and that's where it will change. I mean, that's the other way you can look at it as well, is do you do that, just kind of set it up on a case by case basis, but then maybe look at longevity to get that variance for somebody that may be in the same position. Utility line, electric lineman, or so on and so forth.
My question is, should we look at longevity pay? We look into it and see if the years from there, we do bumps up.
Just one of the questions too, and we just went through this with Daniel. Yes, he went through a series of steps, but in the end, after a year, when our 20-year employer stepped out, our 1-year employee is at that same rate. Fair, unfair, change it, don't change it. I think that's part of the question here.
I mean, I guess that's hard to say because, I get it, and you can look at it so many different ways, but, to have, pay scale to pay, guys and that level of expertise and work they gotta have to do things, is you gotta be there to be competitive in today's market. And I get it, where do you start them out, and where do you bring them to?
And if you go to the next sheet, I tried to help Jeremy out here, and it gets messy really fast. If you want to bring somebody in like at 80%, go to 85, and go to 90, cap out at 95, and then in the meantime, the bases move. It's a mathematical nightmare. I did it just to appease myself, and that was a couple of hours just going, this is tough.
Sure.
Thoughts on that?
I kind of think that's where, that longevity thing, when hurts it, I mean, you still have to be competitive with other municipalities. I know the guys are retiring, but you still have to be competitive with the next people, the next town over.
It's not like he just came on. It's not like he just came out of school, for this position. He came out with experience, come out with things moving in. I think it's no different when you're hiring, a carpenter or any other machinist or anything out of the place. But this guy still has experience, he's still stepping in, so you gotta look at those things are always still part of the value.
We're moving along. To the pay increases. Couple different things we've seen here. The CPI is 6.5% this year. We have a. Here. There's a different PCE price index, it was 5%. So we have 6.5% and 5%. What do you guys want to look at further?
Additionally, no, consumer price increase.
Correct, yes.
I think we just stick with that.
CPI, so 16.25, or 6.5, sorry. Yes. Okay, so we have 6.5.
Yeah, it's a lot across the board.
I think we should do, honestly, I think we should do 6.5 per employee.
I agree.
That's wrong. I think we should do that after. Well, it didn't seem well received the last time, so I think it's pretty 6.5 per employee. Yeah.
What was our indicator that was?
We had some discussion.
I've only heard one person come in.
Yeah,
I've had 4 or 5 people calling.
I don't know.
I have no idea. Or,
I
it was the most calls
you know,
I've ever, it's the most calls I've received on anything we've ever voted.
I get.
And it's on the-
I understand. I get it. I understand what you're saying. But the other side of it is, we don't have any of our $15, $17, $18 hour people for playing, you know, but it wasn't fair what we did much.
Nobody's ever gonna say it wasn't fair when they get money. And the way I look at it, like I said last year when I brought this up, was you wanna pay the people that have the experience so they can teach the ones that don't have the experience.
I don't care which way we go, I'm just asking what we're using as an indicator.
Yeah.
Are we using 3 or 4 opinions? Are we using the opinion of every city employee? Or
I'm using my personal opinion.
I'm
To be honest with you, because I feel like if you've been there longer, you make more money, you should be entitled to. I mean, and I think you also eliminate a lot of discourse if each person gets the exact same percentage. If you've been there longer, you should make more. I mean, that's kind of the way most places I would think that is.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's
You know,
just my opinion.
what are we basing that decision?
Yeah, that's just the way I feel about it.
That's fine. I don't disagree with that.
What we're doing is we're gonna take everything we're doing tonight, it's gonna roll into next week. So basically, we're trying to put as much discussion in things tonight, next week. Not saying it won't be as much, but we're just trying to, when we'll have our official mini meetings, that then it's giving everybody another week to process anything. If you got something different to come up, then next week we'll be voting on things to move forward. So does it hurt to vote tonight and then vote next week just to see where?
What, my, that's,
There's only 4 of us, you're not voting. No, so I understand that, but I'd like to.
I mean, it's only got to come out of committee.
Well, that's what I asked at the beginning of the meeting, how we were doing things. And that's what originally said, are we gonna go through this, are we gonna discuss things and then, it's all gonna get rewritten up and this is gonna be the agenda for next week and it's all gonna be one document. Yeah, and well, then it's gonna we'll go through everything, and yes, and go forward. That's what I said originally. So we know what we were doing, so I voting or. Next week, it's all gonna get done this week, next week. One or the other.
yeah.
I think we're all on the same page, we're all going here. So,
We still have to wait anyway, at the next meeting. Yeah. And Kyle will be back next week, so.
Yeah, I said,
your name too before you.
Sorry.
Your name.
Jeffrey Kester, 32 years. I had done some numbers and last year, when you gave us a cost of living at 7%, I took the 3 employees who were ready to retire. So one is Tom Caverly. Last year, he lost $1,450. With a 7% raise, he got a 5% raise, so he lost 2%. This year, if you do a 6.5%, you will lose $1,310. That's $2,700.60 you will not see on every time. Ever.
Wait, Jeff, if we do a 6.5%, how would you lose money?
I'm saying if you do a 6.5%, his raise will only be 5%. Last year, when you did that, Mike Van Dorn lost $1,166. His raise was only a 5.3, which is 1.7%. I was the lowest one. I lost $358. I got a 6.4%. That's raise we will never see on our retirement. So I guess what I'm saying is, like it was brought up tonight, I'm speaking for all of us solar ones, that's money we'll never see. We would like to see the 6.5% across the board. And I'm just getting my point out because some people said last year we got a 7%. Not all of us got a 7%. Just want to make that known.
I'll do that. Did it.
So 6.5% for every person. Let's move on. All right, next up, we talk about part-time pay rates. You see the nature of the economy right now. We're $13.99 is our part-time rate. Many places in town, including McDonald's and Dairy Queen and stuff like that, are paying $15 an hour. As a government organization, I know it's hard to find employees anyways, but we need to up it. Our part-time day. I don't know what, the question is what to do. At this point.
Personally,
This is 23, so it's 13, so on 1/1/24 it goes to 14, 1/1/25 goes to 15.
Hey, Josh, you get the person that minimum says $15.
Right, and like I said too, I'd also recommend if you're gonna look at parks and utility, put them together, being the same. I mean, because there's the disparity between, I mean, if we're gonna do that, let's. You know, why they have, they're kind of doing, they're mowing grass over there, they're mowing grass. At the ball diamonds of the park. So, you know, so just, I would say we do that, and that way we have more continuity with everything.
Yeah, I don't disagree with $15 an hour, just two things. I saw an ad the other day for park workers in city of St. Louis, $12 an hour starting pay. I know it's a totally different situation, I'm just bringing it up because I saw it on TV.
Well, I would agree with the labor market. I know how hard it is to hire people.
But the other point I'd like to make, I don't have a problem with doing $15 an hour for part-time employees. But I think that should be their pay increase for this year, not $15 an hour plus 6.5%.
Or even just do the 6.5 and put some over the 15 too. Whatever you.
And just any new employee, I mean,
So that we can change that base to the $13.99 base, we can change to.
If we just didn't change anything to the 6.5, that would cover everybody.
I believe so.
I don't think so, Josh.
All but the school, the crossing guard.
Oh, yeah, the cross.
Crossing guard still get 14.30.
I don't know. Guys, you know, some of these guys, we're gonna bump them. $half an hour and then give them another.
It would not, I'm sorry, Bill, it would actually put it at $14.90, $13.99 would. That, but. But the parks labor is also within the rate too at this time, so it's a little higher, so there's between these two.
I don't disagree with them.
So you're talking 2 people that we would need to change or 3 with your newest hire? Is it if I've got the one that says percent raise on it here. It looks like school guard would go $13.50 to $14, so we'd be under the 15. And then Jim Hennis would be $13.99 to $14.90, and your new hire would be $13.99 to $14.90 based on this schedule.
We have 2 crossing.
And Steve as a crossing guard, yeah, that's right. For his crossing guard hours,
Looking at $1 an hour.
roughly.
Roughly not quite $1. $15. So then we're going from 15 to 16 basically. Saying, you know, if we want to just change it to 16. Oh, and then, sorry. You follow what I'm trying to say? Yeah, if we make it 15, you're all gonna get $15. I understand what Josh is saying, some of them aren't gonna get 50%, some of them are gonna get a lot more. I don't know at what point we.
Yeah, the parks labor right now is at $14.63, the 6.5 would. Sorry, that's not good.
It's like 97 cents.
Yeah, parks labor is $14.63 with the 6.5%,
So
that's $15.58.
basically, my point is that if we do $15 an hour, they're actually gonna be making. After.
Well, I guess my question though is that $15 an hour, is that the starting point that could still be negotiated? If he gets somebody comes in and he advertises at 15, and he says, hey, this guy's probably worth 16.
No, yeah, he's just talking part-time employees, right? I mean, all I'm doing is making a point that, you know, if we decide to do $15 an hour for all part-time employees, it's not really $15 an hour, it's gonna be $16. Is the point I'm making. Just so everyone's aware.
Gonna bring a schedule back to the next meeting, maybe identify the people or? We good with that?
I'll put something together with the part-time, what the current rate is. What 6.5 would be, just so you can see this, and that may be a better discussion point, you actually see.
I agree, we need to do.
And then I have an FOP question. If we just affect some of these part-timers, is that something we need to go back to the negotiating table for or not?
I can talk to the actual union rep and figure it out. I can call them, the actual union rep and ask him.
Because it would just affect a few part-timers is all we're talking about, but I don't want to exclude the question here.
Yeah, I'll get a hold of him and let you know.
The bottom line, I think it's only maybe 4 employees. Roughly.
Yeah, I mean, we have. Well, up 2 plus. Parks guys, meter readers, but they're already up higher anyway.
Well, I'll have a schedule for the next meeting.
You think 15 would be enough, or 16? You think it'd be enticing? Somebody better do.
If you put them at 15. And then, like Bill said, if you do the 6.5, you say the base is 15, and then you do 6.5, that's a 15.97.
Next up, we're gonna talk about department heads. Paul, I was talking to you earlier, you want to explain, we're gonna go to executive session, but can you explain? Things we go to executive session for?
You can only go into executive session to discuss specific performance of specific employees, not categories of employees or general budget questions.
Okay. So, starting off then, department head salaries in relation to salary survey. There were a couple of job categories that were under the minimum. And, let's see here. Have some of the job descriptions. Paperwork, go be together. So going forward with this. Anybody have any questions or you will have to do? We'll do the city employee or the department heads, I'm guessing that's 6.5% also. We go the rest of the city employees. 6.5% should put the give the police and the administrative assistant over the minimum.
Say over the minimum, that's what I asked. I'm reading the minimum rate. 52 and 38 came from Florida. And we're already in forward.
Talking about the.
Well, we're covered.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is that, when you're saying no, that's what you're reading.
Yeah.
Or are you reading the percentile data down the bottom, 50s and 60s?
Should be the 50s and 60% range. Some of this we talked with the code administrator. Even though it says that the code administrator has kind of worked over the ordinance. Jeff's position actually does do a lot more, he does a lot of engineering, things like that, so. It's not 100% accurate with the code enforcers. And, but they, there's a lot more sides. Just being code enforcement.
My only question being, I don't disagree, Jeff's probably doing some duties other than just code enforcement.
Yeah.
But if you look at the survey. It's already way above the 80.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the way our ordinance is written, like I said, the way our ordinance is written, it doesn't say anything about. Correct, double check, it says about engineering, things like that. It's just saying for just part of the. It's only 3 data points we could get with the other towns that we had, it was code enforcement. And the closest we can get to Jeff, but I know Jeff does a lot more than.
So there weren't really any apples to apples. Comparison between the municipalities.
Yeah, because he's more of a city engineer, I'd say that.
It probably would be better, get a city engineer just to see also.
So if you look at engineer data points, it's, I mean, Jeff does have a 4-degree in engineering, does have additional trainings on top of it. And if he can make a lot more money also, you know.
What do a lot of other towns do for engineering? You know, do they contract that out? Do they contract it out?
Yeah, what kind of engineering, I mean, do you actually do?
My background in civil engineering.
Well, I know that, I'm saying for the city.
For the city, I've done mostly construction engineering when it comes to it. Embark was one of the first things I did. We did not hire a firm, we hired me, I could. The forestry bike trail. Those of you here, you know, that was an IDOT job. A resident engineer was required to be on that job. I have the degree, I've taken additional classes with college. That certified me and enabled me to do that and fulfill that role. We had a $65,000 price tag to do that for root hazard. When that basically paid my salary for the 2 or 3 months that I was on that job. The other 9 months, you know, it was good for it. I wanted to, Taylor Street, we completely tore Taylor Street apart. We put a new profile on it, we put a new base on it, we put holders in there. I put the engineering plans together, I put the engineering specs together, I bid the job, we awarded the contract. I was out there and I did the inspection. There's not a code administrator, the zoning administrator, you have to be an engineer to be able to do that. Your subdivisions that you build. Again, I did all the construction inspection on that. I was hired for Newcastle because I had 13 years of experience in private practice where I was a consultant engineer. When I left, my billing rate was $80 an hour. That's what it would cost for the city of Redbud to have me down. Today, that number would be $150. I was just curious. I saw this survey, and in a way, I kind of agree with Monica. I said, "What? They're comparing me to somebody who writes tickets in code enforcement? Really? A zoning administrator or Freebird makes, I don't have my glasses. It looks like $56,000, and all he deals with is zoning. So, you know, being silly about it. Well, I do all the code enforcement, I do all the zoning. You add those 2 numbers together, that's a lot more money than I make right now, and I do 5 or 6 other things that these people couldn't even think about doing for their city. So when I was hired on, I was hired to be a city engineer. My yearly appointment is code administrator / city engineer. I don't know when that fell off the job titles 5 or 6 years ago. I don't care what my job title is. I know what I do and I know what I do. So, you know, Smith as an engineer there. He does have a PE where I do not.
He does not do any engineering. He is a 100% administrator. I make $4 grand more than he does. I've got 10 more years of experience. Just to try to compare an apple to an apple. I don't know. I saw this in the packet. And to be honest with you, my blood started boiling. Why is this in the packet? You know, what in the hell is going on? It's the first thing that went through my mind. And then I noticed, well, you know, the original GovHR study is a different piece of paper than what you've received in your packet. This is, I have the original piece of paper. It has a public works director and 2 zoning positions that they thought best might represent what I do. And $82,000 for $82,400 is the average. I make 84. Mysteriously, now maybe you guys know, I don't have a clue. I guess GovHR was asked to relook at it and remove the public works. So the one you guys have in your packet, I'm compared to Chester's code officer. Every low paid position, code enforcement, 4 times the people who go out and write tickets that the grass is too high. That's what Rodney is looking at in his packet, and that's why it looks like my salary is grossly out of range.
Jeff, I think there was 2 sheets on all positions. There was the original sheet and then there was an edited sheet, which was done in the process survey, how that happened.
Here's the edited sheet that was submitted to us in the original GovHR.
And it says code administrator across the top.
That's an overview if you would like to see.
I'm just curious if it's the same sheet.
Absolutely same.
So there are 2 sheets, that's my point.
There's one that includes everything, and there's an
And
edit.
one that says edit.
And this, the one that you were looking at in your packet, is not the edited version.
Second.
It's the second version.
Okay,
And I'm not believing you guys. I don't know why. Quite frankly, I don't know why I'm being picked on. Because I don't see these sheets in here for any of the other department heads. I see them in here for the detective and for me. Am I wrong?
they're all here.
All these sheets are? Okay, I apologize. Then that was my bad.
This one, the one I have is it doesn't, mine has those spots.
Yeah. But anyway, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it sure.
Well, it kind of goes back to what I'm saying earlier. It's not an all apples to apples. Their survey was not an apples to apples. Because, and that's the thing we understand now. I'm not looking at, we started looking at the survey they did. It's not at all 100% apples to apples. That's why we can only take parts of it with grains of salt. We'll make adjustments for what we feel is right for us. And that's all we're trying to do.
But when I spoke to the being on the Zoom call or phone or whatever the heck that was, it would have been better. I agree with Mike. He should have been in front of our desk. But that's neither here nor there anymore.
I think it's fair to say that most of us are very disappointed with that.
It sounds like it. Quite frankly, I was too. I'm kind of with Rodney on his opinion, the whole thing to begin with. I don't agree with it, but I thought it was gonna cause more headaches than be helpful. Then maybe it didn't, not for me to decide. But when I talked to that guy, he was, again, I'm tooting my own horn, I don't like doing it. He was blown away about the responsibilities I have out here and what I do. He in fact said that there's not another town that one person wears as many hats, including the engineering.
I think that was true of a lot of places.
It probably is. You know, so.
Well, that's
You know, by looking at this sheet, and I agree with what Rodney says. I'm grossly overpaid compared to what this says, but the sheet's not even close. It's not apples to apples.
And I won't make an argument with that, Jeff. I don't know everything you do, you know, none of us do what you do on a day-to-day basis. But I think the other thing we ought to look at is all of our department heads. And what they do on a daily basis. A lot of them are doing a whole lot more than what their job description says, just as you know. And I think we need to take a look at all. And you know, I think there's some warrant for some increases in some of those.
Do you think this is a good time to look at and take all of these ordinances and get them really up to date? What to reflect the current jobs, so these are dated, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I know these are still like pre-2017, I don't know how old they were when I first saw them, so. They've got some age on them.
I mean, I guess my opinion is, you know, Jeff kind of substantiated his job with a person in Smith, and I'm sure Josh could do the same. You know, John could do the same, Pam could do the same. Because that's something we want to explore.
I think we definitely update these ordinances.
Because the problem is with the 6.5%, you just keep making that gap. I don't have a problem giving you things. Just saying that we're not fixing the problem if we do.
So you would want to update the ordinances and then have future discussions on.
But I'm not on the committee, so yeah. I'm just stating an opinion.
Well, I would say definitely ordinances need to be updated for right now. A lot of this in here is pretty wrong, getting skimming over it, like, it doesn't say anything about the engineering or anything that it is. But
The application that I filled out part of HR had all of that on there, and it did, I don't know if you guys ever saw applications or not, but.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure. No, you know, I'm sure Dan and John and Josh all filled out the same thing. I mean, that'd be a heck of a good.
Well, do that kind of updates or updates ordinances.
Yeah, the other thing that would probably be important to mention here. I wasn't here when you heard Jeff, but I know when he was hired, the original intent was kind of take over Louis' position at some point. And I know that, you know, never happened, but you have taken on duties and things. But just so that everybody's aware that that's kind of why that position was started. And am I correct?
That's absolutely true. And when Louis retired, ordinance was changed where you had to live in town. I did apply for Louis' position. My application was not considered because I checked the box that I was not in town. When I was hired, I was Mayor Worrell, Don Glasscock, Tom Mop, Janice asked me that very question. He said, gentlemen, I just bought a small farm outside of the Whitelands. I have a good job. I'm not gonna leave it if you're gonna force me to live in city limits. And he said, that's fine. It won't be in here. If you look at my original job description, it's not in there. That is absolutely why. It was not a requirement.
Yeah.
So when the rules changed, when we retired,
And that's what happens when administrations change. And
I
things
understand,
change.
and I'm not complaining,
Right.
but that's why I didn't get a shot at Louis. I fully agree with you. I was shooting for that one.
I mean, that was the original intent, is my only point.
I agree.
Yeah, that's why I asked that question earlier, because I'm seeing additions to some of these job descriptions. Does everybody have a copy of what they were actually hired under, as far as the department heads?
I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I was hired not because I'm good at zoning or writing grass tickets. I was hired because that's what.
But I mean, the job description that is here,
The one in the ordinance book is the one I was hired.
the one that's in the ordinance book.
Last paragraph saying that position had to live in town.
Other than that, that's what your job description is. Same way with you, Pam.
It's been 23 years.
But that's why your point about the job descriptions, I'll be honest with you, the arguments of the job descriptions. That's why I asked that question early on, because I'm seeing additions of 40 items that are added to, I guess, a job description of the person hired. I mean, I think that's the story on it.
Even the street guys and the linemen or the gas guys, those jobs have all evolved into more.
I know, but we don't have an ordinance for their job.
When they originally,
But we don't have an ordinance for the job descriptions.
They have jobs.
So all the jobs are involved. Do we need to update that? I haven't argued.
No, what he was saying is that these are ordinances that are in our ordinance book that we need to. You know, these guys have job descriptions, which I'm sure change all the time. But it's not written in an ordinance, so that's what Ronnie had started pertain to is, these are ordinances that we need to. You know, update or become more,
And maybe something that needs to be visited on a more frequent basis.
well, that's what I guess what we're asking is, you know, we need to keep moving. Forwards updating those ordinances because they are part of.
Yeah, because say Jeff decided tomorrow, yeah, done, I'm leaving. Okay, is he going under this ordinance, the new hire, is it gonna go under this ordinance? That's my point. If we don't know that, because it's gonna happen one of these days, those positions are gonna have to get filled. And if that ordinance isn't what we want it to be, it needs to.
I think the last paragraph in all of our descriptions, it says something to the. The paraphrase is something like whatever their duties are assigned. My guess would be that the ordinances cover what Rodney talked about as being the entry level. Then as your job grows, then you grow. Now other things are assigned.
Your ordinance could be your basics,
I think.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
because it's hard to put, you're never gonna put a right description in there anyway.
And to have somebody come in here and try to replace somebody that's been here for 23 years, they're not gonna be able to start at where that person is now.
Sure.
They'll have to build up to that too.
Definitely look at updating our ordinances. Okay. Moving on, that brings up same as job title, make changes and leave as is. We can see right here, you know, Jeff's job title, and more to it, than right now it's code enforcement, code administrator. If I be part of the ordinance updates, that we do, we'll look at job titles.
We did look at changing the one job title though for doing away with the lead man, and get the lead person.
Yeah.
That 50, the social or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you read some of these ordinances and they don't know what Susan did, but it refers to the mayor as he will do this and he will do that.
The last thing that we have is annual reviews. I know we talked about the mayor. We set up goals with every employee where we have to sit down and sometime during the year, kind of go over the benefit package. Questions they might have, things that they'd like to see. My department is, you're doing that right now, aren't you?
I set goals with the department head, and then like quarterly, we'll look at those, but I guess annually we put that together too, and then put something much less for the rest of the employees.
Then I think we talked about, maybe your benefit letter that we can do for all our employees, behind the name for health insurance, some of the paying for life insurance, things like that, and with the salary and what we've done. So I think we should do something like that. Help educate what we're paying on our end.
So do you want to work with the department heads to develop tools? 'Cause I don't know that would even look the same for each one, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't.
For the department head.
And then what sort of target date do you think? Are we talking next year or anything?
Let's start with this year. Anything else we'll need to discuss with that? All right, going very well. Anything else you guys want to discuss? We hammered out a lot of things that. All right, we have the public guest comments, you want to speak now? Hearing none, I will adjourn the personnel committee at 7:26.